Welcome to The Grand Balance, a weekly podcast hosted by two working grandmas navigating the beautiful chaos of work and family. Today's episode will serve as the end of season 1, and we thought it was fitting to finally meet the two beautiful women who made us first-time grandmas. While Sharon and I are comfortable sharing some personal details about ourselves, we have committed to both of our families to protect their privacy. So today we will use alternative names for our daughters, but we would like to introduce to you two hardworking women who are loving wives and amazing and inspiring first-time mothers. Angela's daughter, Kaya, and Sharon's daughter, Violet. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we are so excited to have you, and we are blessed to have the two beautiful grandbabies that you have given us.
Yeah, thanks for that. We like that.
Anytime.
Before we get too deep into some interview questions so that the audience can learn more about you, first, what did you think about us doing this podcast? Did you think we were like insane or what?
I thought my mom was joking at first when she told me, but after she talked about it a little more, it sounded really exciting, and I feel like it's something that she's perfect at. But yeah, at first I just was not expecting it at all because she's never talked about doing a podcast or anything.
Yeah, as Angela's daughter, I was interested when she said she was doing a podcast, but I was not at all surprised that she and Sharon got it off the ground and got it running because that's the ambition in her. So when she said she wanted to do it, I had no doubt in my mind that it would come to fruition.
Well, and I have to say, you really encouraged me because I know for a while I was like, well, I don't know, and this and that. And you kept saying, well, what about this podcast that you want to do?
Yeah.
So I think you got me over the hump, actually. So thank you for that.
Well, and just let everybody know that I bought you a podcast mic that you actually didn't end up using because you needed a better podcast mic. So that just goes to show like the overachievers that you guys are. And I was trying to be supportive, and you're like, well, that's not actually really good for this, that, or the other.
That's funny.
But the love was there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
For
the
sure.
thought that counts.
You were the
Yeah.
encouraging me.
No, we are so excited to have you ladies here. It was shout out to my friend Joni for having the idea of having the daughters on. I thought it was a great idea, and I'm super excited to talk to both of you from the aspect of being a mom.
Well, Sharon, I think we came up with some few starter questions to get this rolling.
Yeah, I think we want both of you to answer. So one of you can answer first, and then we can kind of alternate because I'm sure you'll have different takes. But the first thing I'm curious about is what's the difference between your mom as a mom and as a grandma? Have you noticed like significant parenting differences, or can you speak a little bit on that? We'll start with Kaya.
I actually would say I notice more similarities than I do differences. And I know that's it's kind of a skirt around the question, but my mom, as a mom, was always, multitasking. She was a working mother. She is a working grandmother. And I see her doing kind of the same things that she was doing with me. Like she would take care of us kids while also kind of jumping on a call whenever she could, or she would take us out and about, but be multitasking and get things done. So her watching my son, they are always on the go. They always have an activity planned, but she always has her work and her schedule carved out as well. And I will say, not just my mom, but also my dad, it's been the best part about it is being able to see what I only assume to be an extension of their love for me onto my son. And it's like I'm a fly on the wall watching my parents become grandparents, but also care for a little baby, like what I would assume they cared for me like. Do you know what I mean?
That was very sweet. I love that. Violet?
Yeah, the very last part of what you were saying, Kaya, is kind of what I relate to as well. It's really cool to be able to get that glimpse into how my mom probably raised us and interacted with myself and my brother when we were babies. So it's really sweet to see that. And I feel very lucky that I know I was treated like that as a baby because she is such a great grandmother. But I'd say some of the differences would be that when we were growing up, My mom is pretty strict. I wouldn't say like super strict, but she's pretty type A too. And I feel like when I see her with my daughter, it's the opposite. Like I feel like I am a very type B person. And as a mom, I've become more type A. And so I'll leave my mom like all these lists and directions and instructions. And I feel like she kind of half breeds them. And so
We've heard of these lists. We have
and
heard of them,
so
Violet.
I respect it.
and I know she did the same for my grandma too. And so it's just funny to see the opposite now with her as a grandma. Like I feel like she has kind of let go and relaxed a little bit, which is good. It's a good balance to me because I feel like I can get so like caught up in the schedule and doing things exactly how it needs to be done when it really doesn't.
Sharon, I'm shocked you're type A because I'm extremely type A and I don't see that in you at all. So that's funny to hear.
Oh, no, I'm definitely. My son and myself are both type A. Alexa's always been the nice, chill, laid back one of the group.
I'm shocked we get along so well then. Usually two type A's are a little more,
That's,
at each other.
that's funny. Just today, Violet was telling me, do you even read the notes I leave you? And I'm like, I do read them, but there's just so many that I kind of glance over them sometimes.
Well, but you did say on a prior episode that we assume that we just know how to raise these kids. And there are a lot of different things now. We did talk about that. So, Violet, I think you're doing a good job by leaving notes.
Mom, would you like notes to be left for you? I can definitely provide.
She's making faces.
I don't need notes because you express your instructions verbally quite often. It's fine. So you both have had a little over a year and almost a year as new moms.
Shout out to our little granddaughter who's 9 months old today.
Yeah.
Yay. Hey, that's 9 months in, 9 months out, right? I mean, just about. That's what they say, the gestation. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah. I had to take a picture.
Kaya did that. She took a picture of the baby when she had the baby in her, so her pregnancy picture, and then compared it to like holding the baby. It was very cute.
Violet, you should definitely do that.
Yeah, that's cute.
Well, because it's like they've been in the world longer than you were their world, So it's kind of sad too, but it's bittersweet.
So almost a year, little over a year. What's the best advice that we as grandmothers have given you so far?
I'll start with Violet on this one.
The best advice that my mom has given me is that everything is temporary, which is a good reminder when it is getting rough. Like right now, she's teething and not sleeping well. And so I just keep reminding myself it's just temporary. And it's also a good reminder when things seem like it is going super, like she's sleeping well and like everything is going well. It's nice to kind of sit back and remember that this is temporary too. So it really makes me appreciate those moments.
Good advice, Sharon.
Thank you.
All right, Kaya.
The best advice that my mom has given me was a little specific to my situation of being a boy mom, but I do think this can apply in a general sense because when I found out that I was having a boy, I would get some comments like, "Oh, get ready to chase him around. Boys are rambunctious, boys are crazy." And my mom kind of level set with me and said, there are going to be conversations like that. And throughout your son's life, there may be people who will try to tell you that his energy or his rambunctiousness, it needs to be tamed, or that, he's not seen as doing well in school because he can't sit in a chair or something like that. But you just have to remember that your son is going to be who he is, and you have to be his biggest advocate and understand that there's nothing wrong with him, that he's not, children are not science experiments, right? So you just have to kind of hone into who that baby is and stand up for them almost and accept it and love that about them. And I know that that comes from some personal experience that you had, mom, as a mom to your kids. But I that really stuck with me because especially in this day and age where there's so much out there on social media and there's just the comparison game is just unbelievable. It's off the charts and everyone's trying to tell you what to do and how to be and the prescriptions of what a good child looks like or what a good parent looks like. I think it was really important for me to hear that, you know what, every child is amazing and perfect, and you are doing the best job, and you just have to advocate for your child no matter what.
That's really good advice. I had a very rambunctious son as well, and I only had a sister growing up. So at times I thought I had failed as a mom, and I reached out to some friends who were boy moms, and they're like, no, this is perfectly normal. Support it, like you said. And that's such great advice because it was so foreign to me. And boys are different. And
Yeah.
each boy is different, I'm sure, too. But there is just a whole level of impulsiveness, exploration, everything above that's a little different. And I think that's great advice your mom gave you.
Well, and also too, and yes, and she did give that advice for boys, but the more I've been talking to some of my friends who are girl moms that do have rambunctious children, like it's just so not prescriptive, you know? Like there are certain children who can sit in a semicircle and who can play in one spot for 30 minutes to an hour, but there's kids who aren't. And so it's just you just kind of got to roll with it and you got to be their biggest advocate and help them do what lights their brain on fire. You know, even as a 1-year-old, I see him being interested in certain things and I see him wanting to jump around and play around and it's like, okay, we're going with it, you know. So I think that was really good advice.
And is a great attitude that you're looking at exploration and he's trying to figure things out rather than going to the negative, like he's being mischievous or misbehaving.
Yeah, that shift in mindset, I mean, even before he was born, that really helped me understand who my son is better. He is getting into books right now though, so it's funny because he was really, really rambunctious up until about a month ago, 2 months ago, until he discovered books. And so now there's a better balance, I would say, of like calm, being able to sit in one spot and moving around like crazy. So it's been interesting. It's been interesting to see and pick up on his interests.
As his grandmother, I'm just getting a kick out of just watching him try to problem solve. Like he'll climb on something and then he realizes, shoot, I don't know how to get down, right? And before, had I not had my own son, I would have been like really nervous, like, oh no, you're gonna fall and this and that. And I think having this experience of raising both a boy and a girl and a rambunctious child and, you know, a more calm or just more reserved child, it brings me joy now because now I can just
Enjoy
live through
it.
them and watch them problem solve and, you know, try to figure things out on their own. Of course, I'm always there for safety, but, you know, it's fun. It's fun to just sit there and watch them.
Well, and Kaya's point is so well taken. I never had children that I didn't have to have cabinet locks for. I would have friends say that, you know, their kids will just sit there and not move. In 20 seconds flat, my kids could have my entire kitchen unloaded.
Yeah.
So it was just, you know, personality, but they're curious. That's
Yeah.
their job, learning about life. All right. I have a question for both of you. What's been the most surprising or unexpected thing to come up as a new mom?
Well, for me, it was all of the minor medical surprises that I had at the very beginning because I went into motherhood so hopeful. Oh my gosh, I'm going to exclusively breastfeed and I'm just going to go off the child and it's going to be so nonchalant and we're not going to have an acid reflux baby. We're not going to have to change his outfit more than 10 times a day. Like so many things that my mom's laughing because it was just so many surprises that I guess I didn't pay attention to or that I wasn't prepared for in the very beginning. I learned to roll with it and figure it out. You know, with the nursing at the beginning, there were visits to the lactation consultants and really trying to figure out ounces. And then all of a sudden you become a scientist because you're marking ounces here and oh my gosh, how much did I pump there? And where's my reserve? And all of these things. It's so technical and you are constantly thinking about the health of your child. And then on top of that, my child had acid reflux. So he spit up all the time. So then we were like trying to figure out how many ounces he spit up or how many half ounces he spit up in that feeding and how much we have to feed him again. Like it was a lot. So I think that was the most surprising in the very beginning. And then, of course, mixed with just the amount of people online or in your circles who try to give you advice or to say, well, this is the best way, or this is what you need to do to make sure that your child goes to an Ivy League, or so many prescriptions that really don't apply. And there's no way to know if they actually work, right?
I remember that time. It was rough for you.
We got through it.
We did. But I just remember how often you would kind of doubt yourself a little bit. Do I understand what's going on? I read this and it said this. I read that and it said that. And I think we talked about it before, Sharon. It's like information overload doesn't help. Like you said, Kaya, your child has something going on and you just want to be there and do everything that you can. But so many opinions and, so many alternatives, it's overwhelming. So I have to say, I think you handled it with the utmost grace and patience throughout that whole thing.
Thank you. And I will say the challenges that we had were very minor. Like my son, thank God, was overall healthy. There were no like overarching concerns. There were no specialty concerns. And so just kudos to any parents who go through minor or major health concerns with their children. Like those people seriously are warriors because it really, really is so all consuming.
Well said. And it's such a stressful time.
Mhm.
What have you found to be the most surprising or unexpected, Violet?
Well, I feel like her arrival was very unexpected and surprising. She came 3 weeks early at 4:30 in the morning. My water broke. And so I think from the beginning we just kind of had to roll with it, and it was surprise after surprise. But going into it, I didn't have a lot of expectations or an idea of how it's going to be. So I feel like everything that was thrown at me was unexpected. We had a lot of feeding issues in the beginning. Her weight was an issue. Like day 2 in the hospital, she lost 16% of her weight. And so from then on, for like the first couple of months, it was just constant feeding. I feed her and then I'd have to pump and we had to do a bottle at every feeding and keep supplementing. And so I think everything that came with it, there's so many things that happen that I just never even like would know how to deal with or could even prepared myself for ahead of time. But I think overall, becoming a mom and becoming part of this mom community, what was surprising is that there's just so much controversy and some mom shaming. And I feel like overall, like the community of moms is supportive, but I just didn't realize there was so many things that were such hot buttons when talking to other moms, like co-sleeping and different decisions that parents make with their babies. And I've seen it cause such a huge divide. And I didn't realize that different parenting styles and decisions could cause rifts between different moms who are previously really good friends, or even just meeting through like mom groups. It is just, there's so much out there online too with mom shaming. And so it's just kind of crazy to think that there's just all this negative energy. And I think some of it is avoidable, but there's just, I think with the presence of social media, you just see so much that previous generations weren't exposed to. And it can cause a lot of self-doubt and kind of what you're talking about, Kaya, like all the different opinions. And sometimes it's too much, and it's information overload too, like you're saying, Angela.
Well, to expand on your point about negativity, Violet, my husband and I talk about this all the time. When we were pregnant, everyone was, of course, happy for you and excited for you to join the club, all the other new parents. But they always framed their excitement as like a, ho ho, just you wait, watch out. Like it had a negative undercurrent to it. My husband talked about this the other day to me. He said, yeah, I felt like a lot of people were trying to scare us into thinking that it was going to be a lot harder and a lot more unnatural to us than it actually was. And so that's something that I try to take with me anytime learn of a new parent or I meet a new parent or someone's talking to me in their pregnancy. I say, don't let people scare you because they're going to try to say, negative things just to kind of make you feel part of the club and almost commiserate a little bit. But really, like, it's such a positive, complex journey, and it's the most challenging thing you'll ever do, but it's the best thing you'll ever do. Like, parenthood's awesome. Like, you're going to be great. And so, to the point of negativity, that's something that my husband and I really have a distaste for, I think, in these days.
One of the things I love about Violet is she's very firm in what she believes in. And I've always felt that you don't really get swayed by peer pressure and you definitely know where you want to go. And I also so appreciate how you and your husband are almost always on the same page and so supportive of your plan, of each other, of your parenting. And I think everything both of you are saying are such good points because in this day where things can be so easily negative, you're looking at the positive blessing that this child brings and it's all good.
Yeah.
It's really disheartening to hear both of you say that because I don't recall it being like that, Sharon, when we were having kids.
No, I think people were more allowed just to do their own way and people didn't have so much judgment. I think it's this day and age of social media and all those pressures because also don't remember this. And I do feel like everyone had different styles, but they kind of melded together with yours and there was nothing that was really outlying.
I think the commiseration, like, or the attempts to commiserate, I do think that these people are coming from a place of wanting to bond. And so I do take it with a grain of salt when they, make those comments or whatever, but it's just I just try to be the exact opposite to someone and to really focus on the light and the positivity that is parenting and that is motherhood because that's what kept me going in the hard times. It's still what keeps me going in the hard times is holding on to that positivity that this is such a blessing and like how lucky are we to be having these problems.
Well, that's what both of you so amazing moms.
So speaking of the relationship, then we've heard that both of you have really supportive spouses. Has motherhood affected your relationship? Is it different?
Start with Violet.
I feel like becoming parents has made our relationship much stronger. I will say that now, I mean, it is hard raising a baby. And so we've had struggles that we've never had to face before. I'd say in the 6 years we've been together, we really haven't faced many struggles or adversity at all. And so the nights that the baby isn't sleeping, like sometimes our nerves are just frayed and sometimes we're just really frustrated and it's hard not to take it out on each other in those moments. But I think we have such a strong foundation that we are able to kind of take a step back and realize this is not who we are. Like what we're saying is not at all how we actually feel and not take it personal. And it's just, the lack of sleep that is really kind of speaking for us. At the end of the day, I love watching him as a dad. I think he's an incredible dad. And I feel like my love has only grown from him, seeing how he is with our baby and caring for her. And I think she's so lucky to grow up with a dad like him.
That's amazing. Good for you. I feel like that's how it was with my husband and I as well. Well, it was all about the baby, but it brought us so close. I mean, we're fairly newly married, only a year, but still it just brought us so much closer.
I had the exact opposite situation. And I marvel at watching my daughter and my son-in-law because it's such a foreign thing for me. And I so admire their relationship. And it makes this mama heart so happy that she did so well picking. And I always knew he would be an amazing father and a husband. So after all that mush, we got to hear from Kaya.
I think I'll only add to the mush. But I will say for me, it's been a rediscovery because in every milestone or phase of our relationship, from meeting each other to saying we love each other to moving in together, getting engaged, married, and now having a kid, it's a rediscovery of that person each time because of course we are shifting and growing in those times in our lives, but also new parts come out that we didn't think would be visible or didn't realize that we had as we enter those new spaces. And so I think the jump to motherhood and fatherhood for us was the biggest rediscovery for both of us. And I'm just learning so much more about him and about how we communicate. It's like you more than ever, now more than ever, we are forced to figure it out together. We have no choice. We got each other for life. This has to happen. This has to be figured out. And this is the most important thing is raising our child. And he's been the best dad on the planet to our son. My husband just was immediately the most loving, most caring, most involved father. He wants to be very involved in all of the decisions, all the doctor's appointments, all of the milestone changes, everything. But yeah, it's been a really pleasant rediscovery of my husband.
I love the modern dad.
Yeah.
It's definitely evolved and such a positive way now how dads are, not that some dads were always involved, but now I think it's more of the norm and it's such a great change for society.
Yeah, and I will say, because of course we have those nights, as Violet was saying too, where we're just, especially in the beginning, there was just lack of sleep and there was, minor complications going on, just little frustrations or little stresses. And we implemented this rule. It was almost an unspoken rule that anything said to each other in the middle of the night must be forgiven by morning, whether we choose to talk about it or not. Like, I,
I love that rule.
That's
oh
a
yeah,
good rule.
if it's said in the middle of the night, guess what? You get a pass because we are both exhausted and this is survival at this point.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Yeah, no.
That's how we are too.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I love that. Are there any baby articles or gifts that you guys have found very valuable that you were given? Kaya, can you think of anything?
So I will go with like the basic necessity items and a more luxury item because our philosophy going into parenthood was let's start with the basics and then figure it out. If we find a need when the child is here, then we add on. But we really just wanted to start with the bare necessities and see how we did. My husband had a diaper party with his friends. So I had a baby shower and my husband had a diaper party with all the guys. The guys bring a pack of diapers and they get beer and they get pizza or whatever. The diaper party as the bare necessity item, really, it carried us almost my son's first full year. We did not have to buy many diapers in the first full year because we got so many, and that was just so helpful. We got all different sizes, all different brands, and it really helped us to figure out what was good for my son, both on like sizing, skin, like if he had any skin sensitivities to any brands, how each brand fit on him. And it was really, really helpful for us. The luxury item was actually something that we purchased later on that's been really helpful. And it was the bassinet attachment to our stroller because we wanted to take him out on walks when he was really little, but we didn't like having him strapped either in his car seat for too long of a time because it just scrunched him in a weird way. And he was too small for the regular stroller attachment. So we spent the $100, we got a bassinet attachment, and it was the best thing ever because he could lay down, stare up at the sky, or sleep. And we brought that out to restaurants. We just had him next to us. We took it on walks. We took that thing everywhere until he was probably 7 months, I would say. And so that was a really surprising luxury item that was well worth it, in my opinion.
What are your diapers of choice?
Costco. Costco
Oh,
diapers
interesting.
are the best, and they're an amazing price point. They fit my son really well. They have no fragrances, no dyes. They hold a lot. I don't think I've ever had a blowout with a Costco diaper. So,
Wow.
like when
Costco
overnights,
needs to hire you.
yeah, seriously, overnights, because he does 12 hours at night now, thank God. He does not leak, which is awesome. We haven't had that with another brand.
Nice. Violet, can you think of any items that have been very helpful to you? I know you guys have the exact same stroller and the exact same bassinet
Do
attachment.
we?
I think we picked out that stroller because of Angela's recommendation,
Oh, how funny.
and we love it. So thank you for that. I would say right now our favorite baby item is the Nanit baby monitor. It is amazing. It helps with my anxiety a lot because I was definitely the mom that would go in and check her breathing constantly, make sure her chest is moving. And so once we moved her into the crib, it was such a lifesaver to have that. So I didn't have to keep going in and risk waking her up, because the camera will monitor how many breaths per minute. And so I am constantly checking that. I also love it because we can travel with it too. There's a little travel case that it comes with, and it has a stand. And so I just bring the camera with me if I go to my mom's house or we're going out of town, and have the same monitor wherever we are too. Oh, the baby pen is a big one. We have it out in our living room, and it is also a lifesaver, especially because we have the two big dogs. So it's nice having her be able to be in a space where she's safe. I know it's clean in there, and she can play with her toys while I'm in the kitchen cooking or cleaning or doing whatever.
Oh, that's a great one, especially as they're crawling and walking now. Just you have to keep your eye on them, all the time, 24/7. Well, ladies, this has been great. We just have one final question to end our
daughter podcast.
Yeah, our mother-daughter podcast. What's your funniest new mom story? Anything crazy that's happened that probably will happen to others that you'd like to share? Violet, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this the other day, actually. The first airplane ride that we took, she was 4 months old, and we're going to Denver, and I was nursing her when we were taking off. And this was at a point where a point in her life, I guess, that she would keep unlatching herself. I don't know if this is TMI, but whenever I tried to nurse her, she would just keep unlatching, but like the milk would still keep going. And so we're on the airplane and I'm on the aisle seat and she's on my left side, of the aisle's on my left side. And so she decides to unlatch and there's just milk spraying the aisle. Hopefully didn't get on anyone, but
that's funny.
That's so funny.
Kaya, anything that comes to mind?
Not any specific one. There've been a lot of little moments. Like I said at the beginning, my son had reflux for about the first six-ish months, and just the constant changes in the middle of the day, or of course he would puke right before we would go somewhere, and so he was always showing up stinky. And there was one time where it was Thanksgiving and he was a little baby. We had the cutest little Thanksgiving outfit for him, and I was giving very specific instructions to my husband. Okay, you put the bib on before you put him in the car seat because he needs to wear the bib in the car seat. And of course, I think it was overload for him as we were packing all the bags. And so I get into the car and I immediately smell puke, and I'm like, "What is that?" And I look and I said, "You didn't put a bib on him. What are you talking about? I didn't need to put a bib. You needed to put a bib on him." I said, "Put a bib, put a bib, put a bib." And so like just that fight was just really funny because it's so uncontrollable at the end of the day, and everyone was fine. Everyone loved on him when we got there, and yeah, that was a very funny time, was the reflux time. I can look back and laugh now.
Laugh at the chaos, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I'm sure you were under so much stress at the time.
Oh my gosh, because I wanted a good picture. And of course now he has stuff all over his
yeah,
the
it's
worst.
first Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's funny. Well, thank you both so much for coming on and sharing all your experiences with us. And you both are the ones that made this podcast happen, because without both of you, we wouldn't be grandmas.
That's right.
Very
And
true.
we, again, appreciate your encouragement to do this and your support throughout. Keep giving us some more things to talk about. We're living through you two right now. You know that, right?
Oh, well, you guys are doing a great job. I love listening to it every week.
Thank you.
All right. Love you.
Love you guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Before we end today's season 1 finale, Sharon and I want to thank all of our listeners for your support and encouragement. We will take a break for the holidays and look forward to talking again in late January. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to the podcast so we can continue to grow our community. Also follow us on Instagram at Working Grandmas Podcast, on Facebook at The Grand Balance, a Working Grandmas Podcast, and join our LinkedIn group, Working Grandmas. You can also email us at info@workinggrandmas.com or message us through any of our social media platforms.